for Mayo.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Like proud grandparents, Centre Alliance welcomes the arrival of this piece of legislation. Now, I say grandparents because it was back in a previous parliament, a previous generation, under a different name, the Nick Xenophon Team, that the genesis of this bill can be traced. Back in 2017, when the then Turnbull government was negotiating its historic media reform package, my colleagues and I recognised that we needed to go further than media ownership to safeguard the longevity of public interest journalism. We negotiated a range of measures, including a community television licence extension, a review of Asia-Pacific broadcasting services and a regional and small publishers jobs and innovation package, which, thanks to government tinkering, has been a bit of a challenge. However, of import for this bill, we negotiated the ACCC to conduct an inquiry into the impact of the new digital environment on media. My colleague, Senator Stirling Griff, undertook extensive work on the terms of reference for this inquiry, which examined the effect that digital service engines and social media platforms and other digital content platforms have on competition in media and advertising services markets. You could say that basically Google and other platforms have cannibalised local content. At the time, my colleague said that the government needed to rein in the uncompetitive advantages that global internet giants such as Facebook and Google were exploiting, and they were exploiting Australian-made content and profiting from while others are doing the lion's share of the work. We believe that Google and Facebook needed to pay a fair price for unique content that was not their own. The inquiry's final report made a number of recommendations, but in effect it found that there were serious issues relating to the market power of the digital platforms that were affecting Australian businesses, the media, advertisers and consumers. The government response was a mandatory code of conduct to address bargaining power imbalances between Australian news media businesses and digital platforms. This bill creates the framework for that mandatory bargaining code, and Centre Alliance supports this framework. I note that the final version of this bill includes amendments addressing feedback from stakeholders, and it includes the ABC and SBS, an inclusion that's very much supported by Centre Alliance, and I can say my electorate. I also note in the past week Google has come to the bargaining table to negotiate content deals with some big media players such as Nine Entertainment, Guardian Australia and the ABC. I'm yet to see any reports about Facebook coming to the table, which is disappointing. Centre Alliance remains concerned about these small media players. We hope they will benefit and not be shortchanged by this new bargaining framework, the way they have been shortchanged by previous attempts in this parliament to maintain quality public interest journalism, and particularly in regional Australia. Back in 2017, during the media reform debate, in addition to the ACCC inquiry into digital platforms, NXT also negotiated a regional and small publishers jobs and innovation package worth just over $60 million. Sadly, this package has fallen short of our intention to help regional and small publishers. Centre Alliance shares the concerns expressed by Country Press Australia that the cadetship program component only spent $1.8 million in the first round. The remaining $6.2 million sat in limbo at a critical time of need. Then there was $38 million Regional Small Publishers Jobs and Innovation Fund, which morphed into the $50 million Public Interest News Gathering Program, or PING. Country Press Australia expresses serious concern to the government that their expanded eligibility criteria for the PING would water down the intent of the Region and Small Publishers Jobs and Innovation Fund, and that proved well and truly to be the case. Small regional and remote publishers that NXT and indeed ACCC wanted to assist ended up in receiving only around 15% of the funding. The bigger media companies that this fund was not designed to assist received the bulk of the funding, and this is deeply troubling and I believe short-sighted. Public interest journalism is important to our democracy and it's important to society, but it shouldn't just be supporting our cities. Regional Australians need to hear their own stories, and they shouldn't have to just have that from the ABC providing that important service. The public interest news gathering program needs to do what Central Alliance negotiated this fund to do, and that's to assist true regional and small publishers. More also needs to be done to include small and regional publishers in the apprenticeship program. Madam Deputy Speaker, this is a good bill. I'm pleased this bill is here and I commend it to the House.